SWAP LA has been around for 2.5 years, and part of what I do as the director is speak to different groups of people. I go to a lot of HIV/AIDS events, I go to violence against women events, I go to wherever I can. I go speak to police and district attorneys and things like that to really get them to recognize the sex worker voice, and that we are a organization that is led by current workers, and that we are about, really getting our voice heard. So it's really hard for them to turn us away, because we are that group of people that you are talking about. And we do have sex workers who will speak for themselves, which is a very powerful thing. So even if people don't agree with us, they do allow us to sit at the table, because we are that client base that you are talking about. So if I'm educated enough to assert myself as a speaker, or to demand that I deserve a place in this panel, then that's, just like if you're, that's sort of this new movement of like revolutionary activism that entails people who are standing up and speaking from that population, instead of allowing these scientists or researchers or academics talking about them, right? So there's a drug users union in the harm reduction movement, which consists of like current people who are junkies, who have like major problems, who come to these conferences and they're nodding out and they're like a mess, but they're actually well enough to be able to tell service providers, to tell academics, to tell different people, this is what we need, and this is why your system is not working for us, this is why we feel oppressed, this is why it's fucked up. And so that's very powerful. Like any group, be it drug users, ex-cons, gang members who stand up and speak for themselves, people start to listen, and they have to listen. And if they don't, and they don't often listen to drug users, sex workers, people of color, youth, there's numbers of groups of oppressed people that are not being heard, but it's starting to, become less popular to not allow groups to come forward and at least be heard. So I represent one of, those marginalized groups, amongst others, because people are often not just sex workers, they're also mothers, they're also women of color, they're also queer, they're transgender, they're many other things. So we encompass within this movement many intersecting movements, and so that's why it is a really good portal for this interconnectedness between different struggles, right? So there's lots of women of color that are sex workers, there's lots of men, there's lots of gay men, there's lots of people who have HIV, especially in other countries, who are being criminalized and imprisoned because of their sex work status. Okay, so that's a little background of sort of kind of what SWAP is and where I started. I'm from San Francisco, and I went to UC Berkeley. I graduated from UCLA. I have a master's degree in education, and I was a high school teacher for a little while. But I like to do things like this, like do advocacy and speak to college classes, and to really talk about this sort of topic that I'm so passionate about. And that's why I sort of chose this name, Mighty Passion, because I am very passionate and dedicated to this movement. I don't get paid a lot of the times to take my time out to speak to people and to train people and to, advocate for different sex workers. But it is something that we feel who are in it and have been dedicating our lives to it, very passionate to be, and privileged to be part of this movement, because we think that our voice really needs to be heard, and it's like long overdue, and like the stigma and hypocrisy that people feel around people who have sex for money really needs to change. If we're gonna talk about change, right? If we talk about change in all societies, and we're saying, oh yeah, this world is changing for the better, and Obama is like gonna bring about change, then the simple fact of hating on someone because they have had sex for money is one of the things that I think needs to change. Like that should be something that people could wake up about, is my hope for some of these societies in the next year.